Level number 9, wholesaling.
Hey, this is Kenny Russian, and this is Level 9 Wholesaling, Lesson number 4, Recap. You guys can probably tell over the last 4 weeks that I've been wearing this same outfit. I did the entire, I think it's close to 8 hours of wholesale training for this mastermind club in one day. We started early in the morning, and now it's late in the afternoon, and I'm still here. But we're going to recap, and we're going to make this exciting. We're going to end strong because I really want you guys to get this. Again, wholesaling is a great strategy to use during the right economic market, okay? If you are in the right geography, the city. Will the city that you're living in allow for it to be a viable business model? One that will allow for you to make consistent profits to take care of your family. Here's what I can say. If it's not a viable model in your city to do consistent deals, then wholesaling may not be the right strategy for you. Here's how we can determine this. We've already discussed this. Are you in Ames, Iowa, or Cheyenne, Wyoming, or Tupelo, Mississippi? Are you in a metropolitan large area that has a lot of land mass, that's populated, that has a lot of investors? That's the only way you're going to be able to wholesale houses full time. Otherwise, you need to pick another strategy here on the Level 1 Tycoon MasterMind Club that works perfect for your market. It could be that you're in a market that you need to fix and flip. You may be in a market we need to buy and hold. You may be in a market that you need to do new construction. Maybe you're in a market that you need to buy multifamily. Or maybe you're in a market where you need to buy commercial. Maybe wholesaling in your backyard, in your city, is not the best model. But here's what I can say. If you are in a good metropolitan area that's populated, that does have a lot of activity of people buying and selling real estate and doing well, then that market may be great for you, and you may be able to wholesale 1, 5, or 10 plus properties per month. Those would be cities like Dallas, Houston, LA, DC, Baltimore, Maryland, Tampa, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Miami, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, Kansas City, Cleveland, not bad, Phoenix, Arizona, places like that that are huge and populated, that have a lot of investors. If you're trying to find out if your city's the right city for wholesaling or not, go down to your Chamber of Commerce, go to your real estate investment clubs, talk to other investors, see what they're doing, see if you can kind of gauge if it's a good market or not. So let's do this. We're going to recap. We're going to discuss many of the different subject matters that we discussed during lesson number 1, 2, and 3, so that I can bring it home and help you guys really hone in your skills on how to be a successful real estate wholesaler. So again, with wholesaling, you can get started with no cash, no credit. That's the beauty about wholesaling houses. You don't have to use your own money in order to buy the house. You don't have to use any credit because you're primarily dealing with private sellers. You're going to enter into a contract with as little as $1 earnest money deposit, and then you're going to assign the right over to another cash buyer. Now, you don't want to deal with people who need to get funding through FHA or VA. You need somebody who has cash or somebody who's going to use a hard money loan in order to close out on that deal. So this is a perfect way to get started with no cash, no credit. Now, it's a step up from bird dogging like we learned in level number 10, whereas you're just going to get a marketing fee. In this case, you're going to actually enter into the contract with the motivated seller. With bird dogging, you're basically going to just, tell everybody who's actively investing in that city that you have a relationship with, who are investors, hey, I got this good deal. It's 123 Jackson Street. Go take a look at it if you want it. Just give me a $1,000 marketing fee. They're going to enter into a marketing fee agreement with you. They're going to pay you when they close a deal. Now you're taking one step forward, and you're going to make, you're going to enter into a contract with the seller, the private motivated seller, and you're going to now assign the contract, or you're going to do a back-to-back closing. If it's more than $10,000, in fees, it's going to be a back-to-back closing. If it's less than $10,000 in fees, then it's going to be a traditional assignment of contract. Now again, this is a non-traditional investor wholesaling strategy. This is not the traditional. When you go to the bank or your lender, they require 20 to 50% down. You have to have great credit. You have to have bank statements. You have to have tax returns, W-2s. You have to have some kind of track record. You need any of that kind of stuff when you're wholesaling houses, because you're going to be engaging with private motivated sellers that you're going to help them with their problem. Because again, you become the problem solver. That's why there's a lot of psychology in this business. You're going to be the problem solver, and you're going to enter into an agreement to buy that property by negotiating a win-win situation that makes it beneficial to both parties, both you and the private seller. Okay? So no cash, no credit. What is wholesaling? Wholesaling is basically going out there and finding houses that are bargain basement prices, tying them up the contract, and assigning your contract or getting a back-to-back closing. Who is your clients? Your clients are primarily two people: cash buyers and motivated sellers. You want to build relationships with motivated sellers by using a marketing advertising campaign or prospecting, getting people to call you because maybe you're investing in advertising, and then you want to in turn use those leads to be able to monetize and make money from them. Whether you use a list source in order to gather different leads, and now you're going to do direct mail campaigns, or maybe you're riding around and you're prospecting all these properties in order to write down the addresses, to do the research, and maybe skip tracing to find out who owns the properties so that you can make money. Now, who is the most important person that you have to build relationships with or create some kind of relationship with in order to make money? It's going to be between the motivated sellers. Because I want you guys to know something. Once you have deals that are good, the buyers are going to come. So people ask me all the time, what's most important? The cash buyers or motivated sellers? By all means, you need to be going after motivated sellers and contracting to buy these vacant homes that is the ugliest house on the block that you can make money on. Because I assure you, once you're able to find the deals, or if you're the guy who has the deals, people will find you. The cash buyers will find you. People will find you. The landlords will find you because you have the deals. And therefore, they need deals in order to be able to make money in this business. So how do you make money? Again, signing contracts and doing back-to-back closing. That's how you make money in this business. What area should you be concentrating in? You can buy properties throughout the city. However, you want to make sure that you drill down, you find out what areas of the city are selling faster. You can talk with a realtor and they can explain to you exactly what's the hottest zip codes. But sometimes that may not be the best zip code for you to buy in. And here's the reason why. It's because you're trying to deal with distressed, motivated sellers. The highest and the best, the highest price of homes that are being sold in your city, or the homes that are being sold faster than the other areas, they may not be as motivated to sell to you, as opposed to areas where there's older homes, 40, 50, 60 years of age. There's been a lot of gentrification that's been taking place in that area. That may be the area for you as opposed to the suburbs, because like I said, you can ride around the suburbs and you may be able to put together a list of maybe 10 houses in 3 or 4 hours. If you go to some of these older communities that are being gentrified, you may be able to ride around and come up with a list of 70 or 80 vacant houses in a matter of 1 hour. That's very realistic. So for you, for what you're trying to accomplish in this business, being able to get started with no cash, no credit, you don't have money to buy at an auction, you don't have money to buy from an REO agent. Therefore, you got to be more creative and buy properties from private sellers and be able to enter into a contract by only using a minimum of $1 all the way up to maybe $100, $500, $1,000 if you're working with a realtor. But again, if you're dealing with a private seller, $1 is fine. If you're dealing with an REO agent or realtor, they're going to require $500 to $1,000. If it's a commercial property, as we discussed before, it could be even more money than that as far as earnest money deposit. It just depends on the deal. So we talked about geography, and I talked to you just a few minutes ago about that. Again, before you waste your time with this strategy, make sure that the city that you live in is a viable market to wholesale houses. I'm not talking about just wholesaling one house a year, because that's not that's not worth your time, because you're probably better off just getting a job for minimum wage as opposed to trying to wholesale one house a year. You need to make sure that you can wholesale houses consistently, that you can wholesale at least 1 to 2 houses every single month, making $5,000 to $10,000 per house. Then it makes sense for you to be able to wholesale houses full time in your city. So all the knowledge of learning wholesaling doesn't make any sense if you cannot apply it in your city. So that's the first thing you need to do, is find out, can you use this strategy in your city? If not, I got 9 more strategies for you, so no worries. And that's why my students are successful. What is a viable deal? A viable deal is a deal that you've been able to locate and do the research and find out that not only is the homeowner realistic in what they're trying to sell the house for, but it makes sense on paper. The bank payoff doesn't exceed what the property value is. For instance, the house is worth $100,000, but the mortgage is only $30,000. They're trying to sell for $40,000, put $10,000 in their pocket, and then you're able to put tack on an assignment of contract fee, maybe $5,000. Therefore, it's $30,000 to the bank, $10,000 to the motivated seller, and $5,000 for you. But still leaves enough room on the table for the cash buyer who needs to maybe put $20,000 into it in order to force the value up to flip it retail, or is going to put some money into it and then buy and hold on to that property for long term. And again, like I told you guys, you can always make more money buying and selling a house to a cash buyer who's going to hold on to the property as opposed to fixing and flipping it. If he's going to hold on to it, you can always expect to sell it to him for a little bit more, because he has a long-term plan and not a short-term plan just to fix it up and flip it real quick. So be very mindful of that. So being a viable deal, again, making sure that the motivated seller is realistic in what they're trying to sell it for, and that the property is not upside down, and that there's enough equity in the property to make sense for everybody. Evaluate deals. You know how to evaluate deals. We talked about this. When you're evaluating deals, you can use multiple listing service. You can use RealQuest. You can use the tax assessor's office. You can use Zillow and Trulia. Just be very careful about using Zillow and Trulia, because sometimes they can be inflated or they're not as accurate. And also be careful when you're using a tax assessor's office, because some of the records sometimes is 20% below what it's actually worth. So if it says that it's worth $80,000 on a tax assessor's office, it may actually be worth $100,000. So be very careful about that. So what percentage of the actual after repair value should you be buying in? Anything below 60% of the ARV. So if the ARV is $100,000, you don't want to enter into a contract to buy that property for no more than $60,000. And the lower, the even better, because again, it's going to also depends on if it's a cosmetic, a partial, or full rehab. How much work does a house need? You got to make sure all the numbers work so that you can enter into a contract to buy that property from the motivated seller, to be able to pass on some value to your cash buyer. If you can't pass on no value, then you're wasting your time and you're wasting that cash buyer's time as well. And you don't want to be the guy that's sending a whole bunch of emails and sending a whole bunch of text messages, and 1 out of 50 houses that you send over work. Therefore, I'm not even opening up your emails anymore, because you always send me this junk and numbers that don't work. So make sure that you protect that relationship with your cash buyer and only send him good deals that make sense. Gentrification. We've been talking about that for the last 4 lessons. Again, in the hood, it's all good. I can't stress that enough. That's where everybody wants to be at. People want to be close to downtown. That's where people are making money at. It's not like the white flight back in the 60s and 70s, where everybody moved out to the suburbs and left everybody centrally located. Now everybody's leaving the suburbs and coming close to downtown. That's where they want to be at. That's where you see a lot of restaurants opening up at in downtown, and they're trying to redevelop the downtown throughout the entire United States. So everybody wants to be close to downtown. They don't want to be way out in rural areas anymore. They want to be close to downtown. That's where action's at, and that's where gentrification is being taking place right now. And if you're smart and you build relationships with builders and developers, and even find yourself in a situation where you're actually wholesaling properties in order to make some money so that you can park into properties that are in these gentrified areas, whether you're holding on to them or whether you're fixing and flipping, so that you can participate, to make money. I mean, some of you all who are members of my mastermind, grew up living in these communities. Well, why not be able to make money in these communities? Those of you who grew up in the suburbs who are coming back into these communities in order to make money, hey, this is a capitalistic society. Everybody wants to make some money. Just make sure you do the right thing by people and you serve and you have a good heart and people will continue to support you in your business as well. So everybody wants to make money. But the only way you're going to make money is by negotiating a win-win deal. Negotiation, tactics, and strategy. We can talk about this for an entire 6 hours. Number one, make sure you allow the motivated seller to mention price first. And number two, make sure it's a win-win situation for everybody because, again, fair exchange is never robbery. Protect your deals. Make sure that you enter into a agreement, a contract with the motivated seller, and that if it's a really great deal, you notarize that contract and record it with public records so that no one can circumvent you and they have to sell you that property because they're now legally obligated to sell it to you because you execute the contract and for further protection you record it at public records. Earnest money deposit. Earnest money deposit when you're dealing with a private seller, again, could be as low as $1. It could be as high as $500 to $1,000 or even more depending on what kind of asset. Is it residential? Is it commercial? Is it industrial? Is it agricultural? Is it a farm? Is it a modular home? Is it a mobile home? Is it vacant land? What is it? That's going to determine exactly how much earnest money deposit is going to be required. But more specifically, what is really going to determine is who you're buying the property from. If it's a private seller who's motivated, $1, $100 is fine. If it's a realtor and REO agent, it's going to be $500 to $1,000. If it's commercial property, it's going to be somewhere between $1,000 and $10,000, depending on how much the sales price of that asset is. And it's typically going to be 1%. It's going to be the earnest money deposit. So if it's $1 million piece of commercial property, it's more likely going to be $10,000. That's going to be 1% of the $1 million, and that's what's going to be required typically by the REO agent or the realtors. But with private sellers, it don't matter. It could be $1, even for a $1 million asset, if that's what you guys negotiated. Okay? So economic cycles. The market goes up and down, just like a roller coaster. It's cyclical. So right now, we've been having steady growth from 2010, I would say, all the way to now we're at 2018. So most people predict that the market has a couple more years before it makes a major correction. But right now is a good time to wholesale. It's a good time to fix and flip. It's not the best time to buy and hold because we're kind of almost at the top. And if you buy and hold right now, you're going to be paying a lot of money for these properties unless you're in a city like Chicago where you can get some good deals in this area called Inglewood, or if you're in Cleveland or Detroit or Youngstown, Ohio, or Kansas City, Missouri. There's certain pockets, specifically in the Midwest, that you can still find these properties at bargain basement prices. So maybe you're wholesaling houses and buying and fixing and flipping in California, but then you divert that money into buying income-producing apartment buildings or single-family homes in some of the Midwestern cities so that you can make a better return on your investment and have that consistent cash flow coming in and just retain the services of a property manager to manage that property for you in that particular city. So economic cycles plays a major role in what strategy we use. As members of my level 1, I'm going to consistently tell you guys that because I don't want to see anybody lose a lot of money because they use the they use the wrong strategy during that particular market cycle. Right now, wholesaling, fixing, flipping, you can do some new development, new construction. New development, as far as a large development, be very careful because you don't go out there and start, buying raw land, doing entitlements and grading, all that kind of stuff. And while we're seeing the market go up, you start doing all this development, and then it comes crashing down, and no house has been erected, and you haven't been able to sell anything, and now you're losing money, or you're going to have to wait till the next cycle comes back around in order to be able to finish up the construction of those properties and sell them. So be very careful. Market economic conditions matters. If any real estate guru tells you it doesn't, they don't know what they're doing. A lot of these guys just got started after 2008 when the market made a correction, so they never seen a downward market. See, I've seen a downward market. I made money in a downward market. I made money in an upward market. I understand how this works because I've been through this before. And I've always told myself, I would never be that guy who's 60, 70, 80 years of age. At least, God willing, I'm not that guy who lost all of his money because he invested all of his nest egg into the wrong economic cycle. And I've seen that happen. And I'm thinking to myself, did you see what happens in the 80s and the 90s? How can someone 16, 17 years old make that kind of foolish decision when they seen what happened, in the 80s and 90s? I seen what happened in 2008, and I would never make that mistake again, and my students will never make that mistake, because if you listen to me, you help allow me to help guide you, you'll be very successful in this business, and I assure you that. So economic conditions, cycles. Now, let's talk about guerrilla marketing. Again, we have TV, radio, bus stop benches, website. We have business cards, brochures, traffic billboards, flyers, direct mail. We have Google, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have YouTube. There's a host of different advertising mediums that you can use in order to make money. But what's important is three things: consistent, congruent, and synergy. That's what's most important, whatever type of marketing that you decide to do. And test small. There's no reason to go out there and put a traffic billboard up because you want to be like Kenny Russian, or go out there and, hey, I want to be a celebrity rock star on TV and get a TV commercial. Test small. You know, do some business cards, some brochures, pass them out. Start talking to people at your church, you know, your synagogue, your mosque. Network with people. Find out who's got houses for sale. Start off organically, then you can build something from a solid foundation. Guerrilla marketing is critically important, and consistency is so important as well. Not just the message and the colors and everything, but being consistent. If you're going to advertise, don't advertise for a week and then stop advertising. If you're going to advertise, make sure you got a budget for at least 90 days. So whatever you're going to do, whether it's the banner size, whether it is Google AdWords or Facebook or Instagram, make sure that you do it for at least 90 days, because most of the time when people see your ad for the first time, they may not call you. They want to see it repeatedly, you know, and it's been scientifically proven that most people don't react to any kind of ad or anything until they see it 2 or 3 or 4 times. Sometimes even longer than that. Then they just remember in the subconscious mind, like, hey, what about that guy who buys houses in Tampa? I always see his billboards. Oh, let me call him. That's kind of how it works. So here's a couple things that we didn't talk about before on lesson number 1, 2, and 3. And if we did, I was very vague, so I wanted to go back just to touch on this just a little bit. So here's some added things I want to discuss. Control the deal. When you are entering into a contract to buy a property from a motivated seller, controlling the deal means that you control the title company that you're going to close the deal with. Because if you use the buyer's title company, and you can do that after you build a relationship with that cash buyer. But if you use his title company, he may delay the closing. If he delays the closing, it's going to hurt you because you're buying it from a private seller and you're giving them some guarantees that they're going to close during a certain date. So you want to make sure that you position yourself where you can control the closing, and control the closing means that you close with your title company, because your title company is going to tell you the God's honest truth. His title company may lie to you. He may be telling you, hey, well, I'm waiting for the hard money lender to send out the appraisal. The appraisal may have already been done. The appraiser probably was already out there, but he's not being honest with you, and he's saying something in order to delay being able to close on that deal. But if it were with your title company is going to tell you exactly what's going on. Hey, well, we're waiting for the appraisal. You need to call the cash buyer and tell him he needs to talk to a hard money lender and go ahead and get an order ASAP. They're going to be more transparent with you because that's who you use. So when you are trying to assign contracts, control the title company and the deal as much as possible. Control the deal by selecting the right title company so that you know exactly what's going on, and no one, whether it's a cash buyer who is new or even a guy who you build a relationship with, can lie to you and steer you along, and now you lose the deal because this guy has not moved forward with paying to get the survey done, or paying to get the appraisal done, or maybe he's messing around because he's trying to get money out of his IRA account, and it's taking a little long and delay for him to be able to do that so he can provide the 20 to 50% down if that's what the hard money lender is requesting. So you got to be careful, because if that guy doesn't close, you want to give yourself enough time, as we discussed earlier, so that you can find another buyer. But if you just depend on this guy who's dragging his feet to close a deal and he ends up not closing it, now you just lost a deal. That could be a $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 plus assignment the contract fee, or profit because you did a back-to-back closing. JV with other wholesalers. People ask me all the time, Kenny, should I JV with other wholesalers? There's nothing wrong with JVing with other wholesalers, but here's where it stops. When you assign a contract to someone, you don't want to allow them to assign the contract again. So you have it under contract with the motivated seller. You now assign a contract to a cash buyer who leads you to believe he's a cash buyer, but he's just a guy who's just trying to sign contracts. Now you enter into an agreement with him, and he's trying to sign a contract. So you want to make sure when you assign a contract to somebody, no one else can assign the contract. There's not going to be, I assign it to you, you assign it to this guy. No. If he wants to sell your property, then you guys can negotiate what you're going to pay him as part of your assignment fee, or he's going to have to add on to your assignment fee. So if you're selling the property for $100,000 and you're buying it from the motivated seller for $80,000, you're making a $20,000 assignment of contract fee. If he has a buyer, either you can allow him to split. Some people like to split the assignment of contract fee, or he's going to have to add on to the $100,000, whereas he sells it to his client for $105,000, $110,000, and his client pays him that $10,000. But you don't want him to be able to assign the contract again, because again, he can lead you on to make you feel like he's going to close that deal with his cash buyer, and they don't close the deal. Now you don't lost a deal allowing this guy to double assign your deal. So don't do double assignments, do JVs. If you decide not to do the 50-50 split, have him add on his own fee, which would be considered a marketing fee, not an assignment contract, because you're not going to allow him to sign the contract from you, just a marketing fee. Hey, you find a buyer, just add on $5,000. Now we're selling it to your buyer for $105,000. He's going to bring the money. I'm going to get my money. My seller is going to get their money, and you're going to get $5,000 or whatever you guys arrange for everybody to be able to make money. Code enforcement list. We didn't talk about this in dollar homes. There's a lot of dollar homes and a lot of code enforcement citations that are given on a day-to-day basis throughout the United States. And sometimes during the end of the year or the beginning of the year, the code enforcement will have a new list of people who are in code enforcement violations. Therefore, you can get that code enforcement violation list and then use it to send direct mail, because most of those people are motivated to sell the properties because they're being bombarded from code enforcement, just constantly red tagging them, and if there's work that was done that was not completed, or just finding them if there's overgrown grass and broken windows and the property is in disrepair. So try to check with your local code enforcement and see if there's still a list that they offer, so that you can use that list and do direct mail to that particular list of people who are having some code enforcement violations. Opportunity zones. We're going to end with this opportunity zones because it's one of the best plays that a person can participate in right now. There's current legislation that was passed recently that allows for different designated areas across the United States of America to be opportunity zones. These are lower income communities that are being gentrified, that have a high poverty level, that you can actually go and raise capital from different people, and there's going to be about $7 trillion of money that can be deferred, capital gains taxes that can be deferred from people who are able to sell their company or sell an apartment building, whatever the case may be, and they're going to divert this money back into these opportunity zones, and it's going to be about $7 trillion in order to be able to be deferred, their tax should be deferred, capital gains tax should be deferred, or totally exempt, depending on how long they hold that particular position or how long that money is invested in that particular opportunity zone. So for instance, let's say that some guy bought a piece of property for $1 million and he's selling it for $5 million. There's a $4 million capital gains tax. He can actually divert that money and invest it into these opportunity zones, and therefore be exempt, or at least deferred or exempt, depending on how long that money is invested in that particular fund. So I'm starting a fund right now to buy properties not only in Tampa, but to also buy properties in the United States, working with my clients and my students who find me deals, pay you guys fees for finding these good deals, and I use this money in order to go into these communities, buy these properties, and then hold on them for 10 years, using these other investors' money who want to buy in these particular opportunity zones and defer or exempt their taxes. So hey, this is Kenny Russian. I hope you enjoy this 4-part on wholesaling. I try to pour everything into this level 9. Now, my wholesale training is 2 full days. I condense it all down to about 8 hours of video. Now, let me share something with you. It would cost, you would have to make an investment of tens of thousands of dollars to sit in front of me for me to teach you exactly what you've been able to learn from this particular level 9 wholesaling. So I'm hopeful that you guys are going to go out and use what I'm teaching you in order to be able to gain financial freedom and be able to design your own life on your terms. Because just because this is a $25 per month program, this is not a $25 program. This is more of a $25,000 program. But I wanted to make it affordable for you guys because I want you guys to be able to get started investing. I have high ticket coaching programs. I do one-on-one with students from all over the United States and all over the world. I travel to different countries and teach people how to buy American real estate as well. So, but I wanted to create something that is affordable. Now, if those of you want some extra hand-holding, please send us an email at support@kennyrushing.com. We do provide coaching for our students. We'll walk you through your first deal, whether it's phone coaching. We also provide mentorship where we come out to your city for 3 days or 2 days or 1 day, or you can even come down here to Tampa to work directly with me. So this is Kenny Rushing. I appreciate you guys joining me for level number 9 wholesaling. This is lesson number 4 recap. I'm confident you guys were able to learn more than you knew before. Gotta give me some kind of credit now on this particular strategy, and I'll see you on a level 8 fixing and flipping, and I'm excited because I'm going to also be teaching that class as well. I'll see you soon. Try again. Yeah.
This is Kenny Rushing.
Hey, this is Kenny Rushing, and I want to say thank you for joining me on level number 9 wholesaling lesson 4. I'm confident that you know more about wholesaling than you did before you was able to watch lesson number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I am totally committed to helping you guys achieve financial success as a successful real estate investor. And hey, I'm going to be teaching level number 8 on fixing and flipping houses as well. And I look forward to helping you achieve your goals investing in real estate. This is Kenny Rushing. Now it's time to level up.